shut up and shoot.
Hi, here we go.
Mad Tech Industries, the official Cerakoter for Therapy Range.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to a surprise episode of Therapy Range. Tonight, we've got a very special guest coming on. This is a gentleman that I've known for quite a number of years now, and he's going to be running for the Brown County Sheriffs, and I want to use my platform as an opportunity for some of these smaller, less known, we won't say unknown, but less known candidates that don't have the giant deep pockets, that they're not getting all the dark money dumped on them to be able to run their campaigns with. So if I can use my platform to help guys like that get a little bit of a step forward and get better people in charge of our communities, I think that I want to do that. So without a whole lot of, we're going to bring on my good friend here, David Benjamin. He's running for the Brown County Sheriff's Department. Hey, David, how you doing tonight, buddy? I'm great. I'm great. I'm thrilled to have you on.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, like I said, I want to use this platform and this audience that I have to do as much as I can to get the right people in charge. And while I don't run for candidacy myself, I've tried and it didn't work out. I tend to look at myself as more of a sledgehammer. And when it comes to political leadership, we need people that are more like a scalpel. You know, you get more flies with sugar than you do salt kind of mentality. So that's why I want to give you my
have a God-given talent. Sometimes it takes us to figure out what that is.
Absolutely. So why don't you just real quick run through the basics, tell the audience who you are, what you're about, and hopefully this connection issue won't become too big of a problem. Like that.
Great. Police, Village of Aberdeen Police Department. Been here for about 5 years as chief, and I have 30 years in law enforcement. Actually started in law enforcement when I was 18 years old. Promised myself that I would never be a village police officer. And after many, many years as a village police officer, I realized how much you can actually make a difference in your community in that role. I think growing up, I didn't have maybe quite the respect for those folks that were running our village police department, but now I have a whole different respect for what it takes to be part of your community as a local officer. And I think that's really set me up to run for Brown County Sheriff, a gentleman who wants to be a bigger part of the solution instead of standing back in the shadows and allowing other people to maybe lead in a different direction than what I prefer.
Well then. Yeah, we still got that little bit of lag going on, but like I said backstage, man, we're gonna work through it as best we can. We're not gonna do a whole lot of yakking because I know the people out there that are concerned about this upcoming sheriff's election don't have a whole lot of time to waste listening to nonsense. So, first question that I got for you, Mr. Benjamin, if elected, what would be the first thing that you would change from the previous sheriff's administration?
Absolutely. So I think there's two things that are kind of on my agenda right off the bat the minute I hit the ground running. Number one is morale. As you know, when you're a leader, you got to have morale for those guys that are working underneath you to make sure they're happy where they're at. They're happy what they're doing, and that they know that their leaders have their back. They know that the people that are working above them are going to help them to have all the tools that they need in their tool belt. And right now, I think that's something that we can work on. That's something we can maybe make stronger is the morale of the sheriff's office, having the deputies that are willing to go out and give 110% because they believe in what their leadership's doing. I think that's one thing we have to fix right off the bat. Part of that morale is getting some of those gentlemen who are good, qualified deputies to stick around and not want to leave and go to some of the bigger agencies. We have seen a fire sale, I guess, for lack of a better word, a lot of deputies who are good quality gentlemen, not just deputies, but good quality people that are leaving our county and going to Clermont County. And we just can't afford that as a small county of about 50,000 people to have good qualified people leaving. We can't have that. I think the second part that we have to hit head on is some of the problems that we have in the jail. Now, that is twofold. Obviously, I believe our facility is extremely old, so we have to be able to upgrade some of those. But I also think some of those things can be maybe fixed with some training and maybe changing around some of our shifts and some of our leadership there in the jail so that when we do have some of the younger guys working, they feel more comfortable with what they're doing. I think right now there's a lot of them questioning themselves and, not having that experience.
Outstanding. All right. Well, moving on to the next question then. How would you address the sheer volume of non-compliant registered sex offenders within the county? And to articulate on that question just a little bit, I personally know of a number, more than 5, registered sex offenders that are in violation of their court orders of not updating their current living situation, of not reporting to the local sheriff of that they have moved, and they're not updating their vehicle registrations with the sheriff's department. They're not notifying them of job changes. And I know this to be true on at least 5 different circumstances. And when I ask around the community, it's much larger of an issue than that. And everyone keeps telling me that it's a staffing issue. We just don't have the manpower to keep up with all of these people. And I'm sitting over here like, hey, y'all let them out of jail. We probably need to find the manpower.
Addressed in a time. So if it is a staffing issue, and I could see where maybe they're coming up with that answer, then we need to have more manpower involved in fixing that. I do believe that we have 1 or maybe 2 people in the county that address that issue. Well, if we only have 1 or 2, it may be a little overwhelming. So why don't we bring more officers into that fold? I know as a local officer, we don't have a whole lot of say in that, but we would love to have. We would love to be able to work more closely with those deputies who are in charge of making sure that they're registered, making sure they're where they need to be, and making sure they're doing the things they need to be. If they're not registering their vehicles, their job, or where they live, then that's a huge concern for me, because the only reason you're hiding it is because you're doing something wrong. And
Absolutely.
Obviously with sex offenders, we know that that's an offense that oftentimes gets repeated, and we can't have people going around here repeating sex offenses. It's just not an option. So I think as far as me stepping in the sheriff's office, we need to have more hands on deck when it comes to making sure that they are where they need to be, and that we are keeping track of them and keeping eyeballs on them.
Well, that sounds good. That would definitely be a great place to start. And the rebuilding of trust within the community would be making sure that these people that have been convicted, these children that are out here that have been victims of this, they constantly feel is that they've never received justice, even if their attacker, their abuser was caught and incarcerated. At the end of the day, due to and this would be obviously be beyond your control because you wouldn't be writing law, but this all boils down to the legislator not coming down hard enough, giving the officers and the courts the power that they need to be able to lock these people up instead of putting them on a registry. Let's just put you in a cage because you've showed society that you're an animal. Yeah.
And I think part of that is being the squeaky wheel. As being a sheriff in the county, can we be the squeaky wheel and talk to folks that are writing those laws, who are maybe making decisions, to make sure that they understand that the citizens do not like the way that things are being addressed, to make sure that maybe there are some changes to keep people safe.
Where do you see Brown County in 5 years? If you were elected, that would be a year after your term is over with. Where do you see Brown County with 4 solid years of David Benjamin in charge of the sheriff's department?
Absolutely. Well, I look at Brown County right now, and I'm going to step outside to say the county as a whole, and we're kind of at a time where it could teeter both ways. We see a lot of growth going on in Mount Orb as far as commercial and even residential. There's a lot of growth, and that's a great thing. But it can't just be Mount Orb, can it? It has to be Georgetown. It has to be Ripley. It has to be Aberdeen. It has to be throughout the entire county that we're seeing that growth. There's a couple things that bring growth to a community. People want to know that when they go to send their kids to school, and when I say safe, it has to be fire, EMS, and law enforcement. They have to make sure that those things are on par and above average for them to move into your community. The next thing they want to see is that they are going to have jobs. There's places where they don't have to drive an hour to be able to get employment. And that's a big thing right now that we want to see Brown County start to change, is bring in some of those job opportunities that are going elsewhere and try to continue to grow the economy here at home. And then I think the third part of that is finding a community that is tight-knit. When you go out into the public and you say, hey, John, how are you? You see people that you know, you build relationships, and you feel comfortable with those people that you're seeing on a daily basis, and knowing that they have your back, they're watching over your house and you're watching over theirs, and all those things come together. If we do that as Brown County, we're going to see growth. We're not going to just see growth, but we're going to see good growth. We're going to see growth in a community that wants to stay together. So then that turns to the sheriff's office. Where would we be in 5 years? I believe that we have to have a new jail in 5 years. I don't think it's an if, it's a when. We've allowed the jail to dilapidate, and we're spending a ton of money on a facility that we're never going to fix. So I think also with a new jail, what does that give you? That gives you more bed space. More bed space serves for two purposes. Number one, when judges are sentencing folks to 90 days in jail, and they're going, well, you're only going to do 30 because we have enough beds to keep you your whole 90 days. That changes that perspective, where when they do give you that sentencing, you're going to spend every day that they've sentenced you to. The second part of that is, can we create some funding there by maybe bringing Adams County in charge of Adams County to be able to house some of their prisoners, or maybe it's Highland County to be able to house some of their prisoners. So then we're looking at a way that we're subsidizing our office through other counties, through other departments. I know as far as a small village, sometimes we may want to put somebody in jail, but there's no room. Right. We pay $9 a day for anybody that we put in jail. Well, that's good funding to have, but they can only do the available. Let's make those beds available. They can reach some of that with the money and make our sheriff's office stronger. So in the next 5 years, I think that's a big thing that's going to help offset some of those taxpayer money to make sure that we're bang for our buck to keep our sheriff's office strong.
Well, I know if we could figure out a way of keeping Brown County tax dollars in Brown County, it would most definitely help raise more revenue for all of those small departments. And another side note on that, what people need to understand is that those tax revenues, it's desperately needed. Okay, I mean, when you're dealing with villages the size of Ripley, the size of Aberdeen, the size of Russellville, they've only got maybe one officer on duty at a time. So if that officer has an issue where he has to transport somebody to the jail, if the sheriff's department don't have the manpower to go down and pick that guy up, well, then that town officer has to drive all the way to the jail to drop him off and process him, which leaves the village completely unguarded during that time period in which he's gone. And you're at the mercy of the criminals. I mean, it's not like they can call in and be like, okay, I got to leave. I need another officer to come in and cover while I'm out. No, you're just shit out of luck until he gets back, or there happens to be a deputy nearby, which is not likely, or they would have came and got the perp in the first place.
And it's a domino effect, because it's not just when they're taking them to jail, but it's when they're filed charges through county court, or when they're running paperwork over to the prosecutor's office. We have to update some of the technology as well, so that we can do some of those same line instead of having to and bringing officers out of their village. And like I said, it's just a domino effect. We want to make sure that we can keep those officers where we need them the majority of the time.
All right. So, David, I want to try something real quick because the lag in your audio is getting really bad. We can deal with the visual. Why don't you go down to the tab down at the bottom of the screen and hit stop camera? That'll still should bring through your audio. Give it a. All right. Say something. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, as long as your audio works, we can go without the visual. Let's see if that helps with the visual or the audio a little bit. Okay. Next question. Tell us about your greatest failure as a law enforcement officer. How did that failure improve you as a law enforcement officer and as a man?
So I think that's twofold. You're going to hear me talk many times about my campaign about transparency. And I'm not afraid to say when I screwed up and when I've made mistakes. And I can think of many, many times where maybe I've fallen short from what I had hoped to accomplish. But I think my greatest mistake in law enforcement was this. When I was a young officer, I allowed my personal life to filter into my law enforcement life. I felt like I didn't treat people with the respect that they always deserved. And I felt like if I had a bad day at the house, I was bringing it to work with me. I wasn't serving the community in the way that I felt that I should have. I know that me making mistakes for the Village of Ripley at that point in time, and that's one of my biggest regrets. Is I don't feel like I gave them 110% when they deserved it, and I felt like my attitude and my work ethic maybe fell off a little bit because of some of the things that I bring from the house. Now, what did I learn from that? Paul, as you know, I'm a very strong faith Christian, and I believe that helped me to grow closer to God and maybe what he had in store for my life. If you ever see me, you're going to see me with a smile on my face. A bad day for me is a blessed day. So I've learned to be able to shed some of those things off and not allow them to affect me when everybody that I deal with, whether they're a murderer, a sex offender, a victim to a crime, a grandmother, whatever it may be. I try to treat people with respect exactly the way that I would want to treat not just me, but to treat my mother. I think if you treat everybody the way that your mother treated, then you're going to go above and beyond to show them the respect that they truly deserve. So I do know I fell short in that way many, many years ago, but I definitely learned from it and grow as a man and as a police officer.
Heck yeah, man. That was a great answer. Well fielded, sir. Well fielded.
Thank you.
All right. Next question. Will you have your officers enforcing ATF rules as if they are laws? And in regards to the bump stock, pistol braces, forced reset triggers, and things of that nature that have not been passed under Congress as an actual law, would you take part in enforcing those kind of rules?
Now, that's a great question because I've been working with the ATF over the last few months on a couple different cases here locally. But the answer to that question is no. That's not for local law enforcement. That's not for the Brown County Sheriff's Office. That's not for the Aberdeen Police Department to be enforcing. That is simply on the ATF. Now, the second part of that is we shouldn't be enforcing anything unless it is truly a law and went through the process. Rules, policies, regulations, that's not what we need to be enforcing. We need to be enforcing the laws that have been tried and true. And you're going to also hear me talk a lot about Constitution. Our Constitution, when it was written many, many years ago, has been tried and true, and it's found to be very successful. Why are we trying to rewrite the Constitution when it worked the way it was then, and it will work the way it is now?
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer that every problem that America faces today could be resolved by simply rolling back to our founding documents and giving them a read, and not just reading them, but not be an arrogant jerk about it and actually read them for what they're supposed to be, because it's not like many pieces of literature out there. It's not really open for interpretation. It says what it says because that's what it's supposed to say. So I appreciate your answer on that, David. Next question.
Let me finish up one more thing there real quick.
Yeah.
Let me ask you, how many times have you ever fixed something that wasn't broken and then look back at it and go, but the original way. And that's the same with the Constitution. We fixed a lot of things that weren't broken.
Outstanding. All right, let's see here. What would be your game plan as the sheriff to take on our ever-growing drug problem that we have in Brown County? We have a total lack of jobs, a total lack of income, but the problem with drugs doesn't seem to be affected by the poverty.
Boy, how true is that? I hate to brag on myself, and I think that's one of the problems I have with running for office is sometimes it's hard to pat yourself on the back, but I want to talk a little bit about that. I think we've been extremely successful, and I'm going to say we because it wasn't me personally, but it was as an agency. Here in Aberdeen, when I first got here, we saw a lot of zombies walking up and down the street, those people that were affected by drugs and addicts and things like that. And we found that the only way to solve the drug problem is to hit it from all three areas. Continue to enforce drugs that are in the books. And I think that starts with the people who are out there tracking drugs. I think that we have to continue to hit them hard. And we have to be able to go to our judge. We have to go to our government. We have to say, listen, we want stronger penalties for those who are selling this deadly dope. And that's exactly what it is. Even the ones that are dying from, the ones that are on the methamphetamines and things, it's still deadly because they're becoming violent and they're hallucinating and all the things that go along with it. So we have to be extremely tough on the traffickers. That's the second part of it is we have to educate. And when I say educate, I'm talking about the kids, to get into our school. Right. The dad is extremely successful. We're going away from it a little bit. I think we need to get that DARE program back up and running because a lot of the drug problem that we're seeing is starting with in even elementary school with the vapes and the things like that. So we want to maybe get a hold of them by starting the education at a very young age in the elementary school. But the other part of the education is educating our communities and our citizens with what kind of drugs we're seeing on the street. And maybe some of the things that they can look out for so that they can know when to report those things and when they're seeing drug activity and how it is that they can help law enforcement to kind of combat that. And then the third part, obviously, is treatment. I've been successful being able to help people through treatment because no matter how many times you've maybe fallen, there's always an opportunity for you to get up. I'm a strong believer in second chances. I believe a lot of these folks who are addicts are truly looking for the answer. They just can't find it. They need somebody who cares about them. They need somebody who can tell them, hey, I love you and I want to see you succeed. And we want to see them be a part of our society where they can be successful. Because we know if we find addicts who can turn their life around and go get a job and be able to raise a family and be able to be successful, that doesn't just help them, but that helps our entire county. So I do feel like I have a very strong plan on how to combat the drugs here in Brown County, but it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to be the entire county coming together and working together over the next couple of years to really see the fruits of our labor.
Heck yeah. All right. Well, moving right along then. We're at 24 minutes. So I'm going to drop a couple of these questions down, and I'm going to get to one that I already know the answer to, but I want to go ahead and ask it anyway because I know there's a lot of diehard conservatives and a lot of diehard firearms enthusiasts in Brown County. So I think the final question of the night, David, is going to be, I know you fully support the Second Amendment, but how fully do you support it? I mean, are you one of those guys that say I support the Second Amendment, or do you support the Second Amendment as it's written?
I love that question. I've been raised around firearms, not just as toys, not just as something that, it is a collector's item, anything like that. But I've been raised around firearms as protection, and I've been raised around firearms to feed our family. We are big on making sure that we're putting deer meat in the freezer every winter. I think we're to a place now where we're seeing food shortages and things like that. So are people really going to want to feed their family and be able to depend on some of that wild game? And that's us. You know, we were born and raised that way, and I'll be that way until my maker calls me home. I am not just a supporter of the Second Amendment, but if I get a call from President Biden tomorrow and he says, we're going to take away the firearms in Brown County and I'm going to need your assistance, I'm going to tell him that he needs to look at the U.S. Constitution and he needs to find somebody else. Come on and get our guns. We're not going to give them up. If you look at the reason why a lot of countries are afraid to come to the United States and start a fight, it's because they know there's as many citizens that carry firearms as there are military. There you go. There you go. I believe as far as the Second Amendment goes, we need to support those ones who are doing it legally and who are doing it for the right reasons and the right ways. And the ones that we really need to be hammering down on are the ones who are carrying these guns for the wrong reasons, so that they can sell their drugs, so that they can make victims of other people. If we really hammer down on those that have firearms for the wrong reasons and are getting them through the wrong arms, those are the ones we need to tackle. We have a lot of law-abiding citizens that truly all they want to do is protect their family and protect their property, and they have them for like I say, for the right reasons.
For the most part, you're 100% correct on that. And I appreciate the answer that you provided. And I think a lot of the subscribers will too. As you and many people know, this is a firearms enthusiast channel. So,
yeah. And Paul, one thing I want to kind of bring up to your listeners is the first time me and you met, we didn't agree on everything. And I'm not here to agree with you just for the reason to agree. I think we ought to be able to disagree on things. Now, that's what makes us stronger people. So I'm not giving you the answers you want to hear just because that's what you want to hear. I'm giving you the answers that I truly believe from the bottom of my heart and from my character.
Yeah, and because I do know you from past experience, I can vouch for his character when they talk about these answers, is because they are all true. It was hard to actually write the questions for this interview because I already knew what the answers to all of them were. But, with times being the way they are, I felt like this was a great medium to be able to reach potential voters with. You know how everybody nowadays just wants to sit and swipe on their phone. So here you go, guys. Here's David Benjamin running for Brown County Sheriff's Department. I do apologize for the technical issues that we had with the lag, but it is what it is. It just shows the level of realness that we're bringing to the table here. This ain't some fancy, flashy production where everything's staged and set up to make everybody look good. This is as real as it gets. David Benjamin is as real as it gets. A lot of people in the community have already met David. They know David from his time working in the various departments and as his time down at the pasture and as a volunteer for various sporting athletics and down at the festivals. He donates his time and he's just the guy that you could look at him and talk to him for 10 or 15 minutes and know that he wears his heart on his sleeve and he's good for his word. I don't know how most people in America feel today, but me personally, at 48 years old, I will be satisfied if I could find public officials that were good for their word. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're going to tell me you're going to do something, it better be God's fault that you didn't get to accomplish it.
Yes, absolutely.
So there's too little of that going on. So,
absolutely.
All right, David, you got any final statements before we play the outro and call this a wrap?
Yeah, I'll be very short with my closing statements. I want to encourage anybody who maybe has more questions besides what Paul has here tonight to reach out to me. I am an open book. I've talked about being transparent, and I promise you that's what I'm be transparent. One of the things I want to see our sheriff's office and our county do is be more interactive with our community, with the citizens of Brown County, so that they know what's going on around every curve. Every time there's something going on, I feel like we need to be addressing our citizens and saying, this is where we're at. May not be exactly what you want, but this is where we're at. I'm not always going to agree with everything that you're going to ask me to do. But I can tell you that I'm going to be straightforward with you. I'm not going to beat around the bush, and I'm not going to play both sides of the fence. I'm going to tell you the truth. I'm going to tell you where I'm coming from, and hopefully we can draw that mutual respect that way. So I encourage everybody to check out my Facebook page. Benjamin for Brown County Sheriff, and you will find out that there's a lot of videos on there that'll show you more about me and who I am.
It's good people, man. Good people are hard to find. David, do you know if there's any Democrats running for sheriff this year?
Currently, there is not, but they do have until December the 20th to go ahead and file for election. So there's still a little bit of time left, but I've not heard of anyone who's going to step up and run on the Democratic ticket.
This is going to be another one of those deals where if you win the primary, it's a done deal then.
That's it. March 19th of 2024, we should know who our next sheriff is going to be in January.
Oh, that's not coming up in the November election?
It is not. It's March 19th primary, so it's going to be the same time that you're voting for your presidential elect. You're also going to be voting for us.
Okay.
Yeah. All
right. For some reason, I was under the impression that it was coming up November 7th. That's why I wanted to go ahead and get it knocked out as quick as possible.
No, and I think it's great because this gives people something to gnaw on. Gnaw on it, chew it down to the bone, and then let's dig in a little deeper and see who David Benjamin truly is.
Well, and if this one goes over well, we might end up sitting down and doing another one as we get a little bit closer.
I would enjoy that.
All right, David. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show tonight. You hang tight. I will talk to you here as soon as we play the outro. Just hang tight backstage. I want to everybody watching, be sure to live your life to the fullest. Anything less is an injustice to yourself and every single person around you. David Benjamin, like many other people out there, are putting their money where their mouths are and moving forward to be the change that they want to see in their communities. We all have that ability. There's truly nothing to it but to do it. You don't have to have special qualifications. You can get online and look around and find gigs within your community that don't require anything other than you to go show up and say, hey, I want to participate in this, and they'll give you the documentation to do it. Stay free, America, if you can.
It's time to shut up and shoot.
Hi, here we go.